Welcome to the Behind the Bar podcast. Today we are joined by Sam Neary from Hedonist Creative. Sam, do you want to give us a little introduction to who you are and what you do?
Sure. So, I'm Sam. I am currently commercial and marketing director at Hedonist Creative, which is a creative brand agency working specifically with drinks brands to kind of help bring their sort of engagement strategies to life.
Awesome. So we know you guys through Britvic. Hedonists help us with our summer event, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we know Wednesday quite well as well, all the team. So you do the London Essence and our gin bar for our summer event.
Yes, we do.
Which is how we connected with you. Britvic are also a workforce partner. So a lot of the content that they provide, and through Hedonist, through the videos that I think John does.
Yeah, John. Yes.
Yeah, great video content. Anyone that doesn't know, how long have you been in the industry? How did you get into the industry?
Sure. So in total, I started working in bars part-time, pubs part-time when I was 18, and I'm 40 next year. So that's kind of, over 20 years now, which feels wild. And then from there, went to work full-time, doing, a fairly classic office job. I think it was an admin job, and just hated it and kind of missed being behind the bar quite quickly. And although I don't think I was aware at the time that you could carve a career out of it as such.
Yeah.
I went and got a part-time job working at Revolution. So I worked at Revolution for about 6 months part-time, and at the same time got myself a job in an independent bar called Sandinista, which is still there in Leeds actually. It closed and then reopened again, which is really nice. But it sort of between those two spaces was really where I started to kind of learn cocktails and started to realise that actually this could be a full-time thing going into something more interesting.
I went to a Revolution for the first time the other day.
Oh, really?
Very exciting experience. I was there for a hen do for a bottomless brunch.
Nice.
Very messy.
Yes, I can imagine.
Very the experience in those places are incredible.
Yeah.
Although it was about 2:00 in the afternoon, there were a lot of people that had been there for a lot longer, I think, already.
They do really well with that. I still say, like, some of our, like Wednesday, who is in our team, she actually started at a Revolution as well. So it's definitely credit Revolution with having a really great training program and like coaching really well, bringing people up through the ranks really well.
And you said that when you were in the office job, you missed hospitality, you missed the bar. What about it were you missing?
Knowing what I know now, it's kind of the camaraderie of it. It's very much a community spirit when you're in it. And within the sort of office role, I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but certainly as a more junior person, like, it really didn't. I just did not feel like the same connection with it. Whereas with bartending, there was just such a great camaraderie with the people that you work with, but also people that work in other bars. And it really started to feel like something I could get really into. And it didn't feel like work, which was the most important thing to me, I think.
That is the nice thing about hospitality. It's very... I was going to say calm. It's not calm at all. There's nothing calm about hospitality.
Absolutely not.
But yeah, it's very like a comfortable job.
Yes. Yeah. And I think it's easy to feel like everyone's pulling in the same direction. Everyone's got the same goals. You feel like, it's a job where, especially when you're younger, you can kind of pick it up. You can come into work and then you can kind of put it back down again and go and have your time off. And although it's crazy when you're there, it's very good at letting you have that time, I think.
And then so you got into cocktails. Wonderful thing to be able to do.
Yeah.
I wish I could. Mixology is the technical term, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I wish I could do that. I barely make a porn star martini.
Yeah.
What did you do after you got into the cocktails? Like, where did your career go from there?
I started as bar support, so I was glass collecting and just kind of helping the bartenders, and then quite quickly it became apparent that both businesses would be happy to train me up, which was really exciting. And then I sort of got to a crossroads where I was working part-time in both. And there was something about the independent side of hospitality that felt quite exciting. I think, a lot of the most prestigious bars in the world are independents, really. And I think you definitely felt, while Revolution was very good at it, they definitely had a kind of systematic approach to making drinks. And whereas there was a lot more creative freedom in these independents, which I found really exciting. So they trained me up, both trained me up, and I ended up going full-time at Sandinista. And the other great thing as well, and this is back in Leeds in like 2005, is that role was a full-time salaried position, the kind of bar that was really paving the way for what I think hospitality should be and what kind of benefits they should give to people. And I found that really interesting as well. So there was job security there as well. I knew my hours weren't going to get dropped and all that kind of stuff.
That's quite rare, isn't it?
Super rare.
The salary and all the benefits and stuff straight away.
Yeah. And it is now, I think, even like, and like I say, this is 20 years ago. So that was definitely a pull. And also they invested a lot of time and effort and coaching into me as well. And there was just a really good culture with the rest of the team. And then from there, I started doing cocktail competitions and was really nurtured to kind of get involved in that scene. Cocktail competitions for me are a really great way of getting noticed as an individual and really being able to put yourself forward creatively.
This podcast is sponsored by Mix with Britvic, a free training platform for all bartenders, providing you with all the knowledge and inspiration to create more memorable mixed drinks. Mix with Britvic offers everything from digital and face-to-face training to easy-to-follow recipes and tools to make the most beautiful mixed serves. Check it out today on mixwithbritvic.com and sign up for ongoing tips and tricks from industry experts.
What does a cocktail competition involve? Obviously I'm assuming making cocktails.
It can be anything from, you'll get a brief and it will be usually brand led. So whatever the spirit partner is saying, this is the kind of drink that we want you to make. Can you come up with your own interpretation of this drink? And you do it in front of judges. And what's usually judged are things like your technical ability, obviously the flavour of the drink, but also your knowledge about the brand and knowledge about drinks just in general. So your presentation, I guess.
And you are a world-class, like award-winning cocktail maker, are you not?
I did quite a lot of cocktail competitions like back in the day. I did a few cocktail competitions that meant that I could travel globally. So I've been to like Cuba, Kentucky, I love kind of all over the place really. And that's all through drinks making. So I think that's why I feel so passionately about it. Can be a career. It doesn't just need to be something that you do part-time.
And were you travelling the world to do the competitions or because of winning the competitions you got to travel?
A little bit of both. There was a cocktail competition that we did with Jamare, which was in Ibiza, where that was competing. But then off the back of that, being able to then start judging cocktail competitions as well and being a part of that. So that same competition that I did in Ibiza, I actually was able to be on the judging panel for. It becomes much more than the job that you're just doing day to day. There's so much more that goes with it.
And is the culture different abroad with like the drinks industry and stuff?
Awards wise, a lot of the focus would be on London or New York, sometimes maybe Edinburgh, but the rest of the world would be a little bit left out. Whereas I feel now if you look at the sort of 50 best bars from 20 years ago to now, it's much more global. You've seen getting much more of an onus on these incredible places in, faraway corners of the globe that we just didn't have before. So it does feel a lot more connected. And I do think the culture is, obviously, different per country for obvious reasons, but ultimately it's very much a large community.
And do you feel that you've just saying that the culture's changed quite a lot with social media and things? Is there anything else that you feel has changed since you started in the industry? Or
without sounding like an old lady, it's very much a young person's game at the minute. And what I mean by that is not how difficult it is, but there's certain things. So when I went to work for Mojo, I was there for 13 years. I ended up in quite a senior ops position. And after I'd had a family, that's when that whole sort of part of my life just changed drastically. So I've got 2 little boys, and that was kind of a catalyst for me having to sort of get out of that late night sort of bar scene.
Yeah.
And actually I remember talking to the directors at the time who definitely were kind of open, they were open to it. But I think I was trying to get people to understand, and I don't just mean as a woman, I just mean in general, like how difficult it is to be a part of this industry, like once you've had a family.
I imagine raising a family and working late nights doesn't work very well.
It's not ideal, especially not when you've got like, super young kids. But, I was very lucky that, Mojo were they let me be very flexible with my time. But again, I wasn't really working behind the bar that much anymore, but I was kind of in the sides because I had to be there when it was busy, and it, it was quite challenging. So I think, it's great to see a slight tangent, but it's great to see it's the first ever bar in the world that's been certified B Corp status. That is so forward thinking in my opinion.
Yeah. And
as part of that, a lot of the way that, the staff are treated and benefits and all those kind of things have to go in with that. And I think if more people can take, can look at that and think that's a great way to go, I think ultimately the industry will benefit from it massively.
There's still ways to go with it, isn't there? But it's
Massively.
definitely moving in the right direction.
Yeah, and it only takes a couple of people to open that door, I think, and then everybody kind of understands it more and wants to do it and sees that it's possible, because I think, you know, my understanding of that particular bar is that it's taken them 18 months to do everything, all the kind of, you know, things that they need to do to get that kind of status. So it's, you know, it's tough, but it's possible.
It's doable, yeah.
Yeah.
Going back to your training and stuff, you said you were really supported in both companies with the original training. What is the training?
I suppose in independence, it's kind of, because going back to Revolution, like Revolution was very much, it was the definition of training. You know, everything's quizzes and, you know, training, physical training sessions and things to get you better. And this is, like I say, a long time ago, so I'm sure it's changed. In the independence, it feels like there's a lot more coaching, and for me, the difference between that is that hands-on kind of personableness, I suppose, to it. I remember my first day at Mojo, and I'd been working behind bars for quite a while by then, and then being like taking everything, but, you know, teaching me how to pour a glass of Pepsi again. You know, it was like right back to the beginning.
They have a certain way of doing things.
Yeah,
so
and
it's quite a prestigious place. Is that right?
Yeah, it was and still is, and it was very much like, this is, you might think that you know how to do it, but this is how you do it here. So it was very, you know, it was kind of starting at the bottom, I suppose, and you know, that's, you know, the training videos that you were referring to before with Britvic, though, that's exactly what we're trying to do in with that partner, is just take it right back to the beginning, because I think a lot of people think that it's just what's in the glass, and it's like, it's not. There's so much technique, and you know, it's the same with cooking, isn't it? You can have all the right ingredients, it doesn't mean it's going to turn out all right, and it's exactly the same. And that's kind of what I think everybody should go through to make sure they're getting best.
I've been lucky enough to attend one of the sessions with John, and like the silly things of where to tap the glass, when you're mixing and shaking, where to tap it to make it, like, nobody knows that. And you see people do it behind the bar so easily, and they're literally like shaking, pouring, like, done. But there's so many steps behind it, isn't it? And it, like you were saying, the Mix with Britvic videos are so helpful, because it literally takes you back to basics.
And I think that's it. I think, you know, because the general consumer is wanting more, and not just when they go to bars and restaurants, but just to the local pub and to, you know, neighborhood bars and things. But then for me, sometimes there's a disconnect between actually kind of it being on the menu and people being able to deliver it. So I think that's kind of really where our experience comes in, of helping people with the delivery and not the you know, not the setup, if that makes sense.
When we were doing the session with John and the team, it was try adding this together, try seeing what this works, and it was really like hands-on. So that I think that really worked. And there's a lot of fun elements in the business still, whereas you, like, if you said to someone, oh, this basic video tells you how to do this, they'd be like, oh, but if you watch it, you're like, actually no, this is actually really interesting.
The assumption that's there that people know what they're doing with stuff, with drinks making, is it's silly, really. Like, it's, you know, like I say, you wouldn't just shove somebody into a kitchen and be like, do that, because that's not how it works. You need to show people and coach people. And for me, that was kind of, sort of going back to your original question, that was what I really loved about that kind of, you know, the independent bars. The way that they nurtured you was very personable, and that led to a really great culture, because there's a trust there and a respect sort of throughout the team, that everybody knows what they're doing and everybody's playing a part.
I've had it. I work in a pub every now and then, and the amount of people that go, oh, I can pour a pint. I'm like, okay, okay, try. And then they're like, oh, maybe I can't. So, like, it's not as easy as it looks.
It's not.
We are sort of jumping around here, but how do you even get into competitive cocktail making?
It generally it's through the brands. So if you have a close working relationship, and that's usually how it works. So the first competition that I ever did was a Buffalo Trace competition. It was one where they just came to the bar. The Buffalo Trace representatives would come to the bar and they'd just watch you make the drink, and they'd go off and do it in however many bars, and then
is that how you ended up in Kentucky?
No, weirdly, that was with Jack Daniels, so that was kind of years later.
Sense,
yeah, so it wasn't for that one. No, I wasn't that good right at the beginning. And I look back on it now and I'm just like, that can't have tasted very nice. It just can't have done.
I have this image of you, like, in your house, you've just got trophies and trophies of, like, the best cocktail maker in Kentucky, the best. Like...
No, it's not quite like that. No, I wish it was. That'd be quite cool. I try and tell my son about it, but he's just not interested at all. He might be when he's a bit older. Yeah, it's usually through the brands. So the brands there's usually a competition season sort of earlier in the year, between kind of January and April, I would say. That's certainly what it used to be. And that's kind of when all the cocktail competitions get announced, and your local kind of representative will come and explain to you about the comp. Or if you get super into it, you can find them online, and all the kind of publications like Class Magazine and stuff will kind of advertise them. So
Never knew it was a thing.
Did you not?
No.
It's so funny. It's such a, I think if you think of like really prestigious bartenders, I mean, Ryan Chettiwadana, I hope I'm saying that right, who owns Lioness, which is on the South Bank, and quite a few venues around the world now. Like, he was competing at the same time as me, and he was just, it was ridiculous, like, competing against him. It was just unbelievable. And I think that's, a really great example of just like getting your profile to a place. And when I say profile, I mean, obviously within the industry, it's not really like kind of consumer facing so much.
What would you say is your greatest achievement throughout the career so far?
Being part of Hedonist. And that's, it sounds a bit cheesy, but genuinely there's something within this agency, with the people that we're working with. There is such a great culture, and I don't think I've ever worked with a team of people who work this hard and genuinely care about what they do. So it's kind of seeing where Hedonist has gone in the last sort of 18 months to 2 years is like, it's really motivational.
Pubs.
Yes.
Do you frequent pubs? Are you a pub goer? That's not really posh. Do you like pubs? Do you go with the family? Is it something you do with your friends? Or
Yeah, I love a pub. We've got a couple of really great pubs close to us. I just love a good pub, and I think the level of what you're getting in the local pub now is just beyond what it ever was.
do you go with your family a lot? Like, how is it visiting? I don't have kids, so do I go visiting with like young children and stuff? Is it? Do you find it a safe environment? Do you find there places you can happily take the kids?
Yeah, I do. I think I haven't really come across anywhere that we've taken the kids where it hasn't felt like they've been welcomed with open arms. We've never really, I mean, obviously there's certain, if we're going out fine dining, we're not going to take them with us, but it's kind of, if not that we do that very
Mainly
often.
because of the price.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, like generally, we get a really great, you get a really great reception, and they love it as well. Like, they love that kind of social aspect to it as well. My eldest, who's 7 now, like my husband worked in bars as well. We both worked at Mojo together. But when we had our eldest, he was still working in bars. He actually went down to part-time, just because, I mean, this is a whole other conversation, but like the cost of childcare versus
Ridiculous,
actually working behind the bar. So he dropped his hours to kind of take care of him. My son just spent most of his time in a bar, and he's now, like, I think, socially a better person because of it, if that makes sense, because he's just, really used to being in that
We've said this
environment.
before about hospitality, that I think everyone should have, not have to, but should work in hospitality, if it's for a week, if it's for a year, because the customer facing role, the social aspect of it just would give, and no matter what career you're going into, it gives you that knowledge about speaking to people, communicating and stuff. And it's such
100%.
like, people that haven't worked in it, I think they're really missing out.
I agree with that completely. And I've said exactly the same thing before. Or just the service industry of any kind, just being in a position where you have to communicate with people and have good and bad communications and learn how to manage that, really. I totally agree.
And do you think, like, do you see it? You said that the change with the pubs now, what they're offering, even the local pub, do you see that continuing to change in the future? Is it something like, do you know where do you think pubs should be going?
From what we see is, the trends, a lot of the trends start in these prestigious bars, and they kind of, they work their way into sort of the mass market, I guess. And pubs are really like, they are the mass market because they're on every, corner, and it's where most people first interact with that kind of drinks culture. So if you see, 20 years ago, you could barely even get decent tequila in the UK. It was really difficult to kind of get decent tequilas over here.
It's the fastest growing brand at the moment, isn't it? Tequila?
Yeah,
Or
it's
product,
huge.
sorry, not brand.
You're seeing Palomas on a pub menu, and that's kind of how it works. Is you get the sort of the desire and the need for it with these prestige bars wanting all these new products and new drinks and creating these new serves, and then 5 to 10 years later you see it on the on the pub menu. And I think that's great because it's kind of Aperol spritz, how ridiculously
It's
popular
everywhere
they are.
now.
Like, it's everywhere. And that started in these prestigious bars. There are people out there that have got that much that have their finger on the pulse that much in these bars, these prestigious bars, that really do lead the way. So you'll definitely see like pub culture change and expand and more offering, in the same way that not every pub used to do food, but now you'd kind of see pretty much every pub has got some kind of food offering, and they'll be expanding their drinks offers in the same way, definitely.
It's all going in the right direction, which is nice. And it's nice that you can go down your local and be like, oh, do you know what? I don't want a pint today. I want an Aperol.
Yeah, and it's so great, and it's and why not? Like, it's a super easy. There's no kind of.
I made one the other day when I was in the pub. I said, why did I think this was like a really like specific? You have to do this step and this step. It's very simple.
Exactly.
Not taking it away from the people that make it.
I think there's like, there's things, in terms of like the liquid in the glass, like super simple. Like I say, it's the things surrounding that, I guess.
Yeah,
that
the
we're
presentation, the glass, the pouring.
Exactly. The temperature of the glass,
which I didn't know was a different, like the temperature of a glass, I didn't know was such a big thing.
Yeah.
Which, that was a mix with Britvic tip.
Was it?
That was a good one, yeah.
I'll let John know, he'll be delighted.
So one thing we do with our podcasts is that the person before you has written a question.
Oh, cool.
I don't know it. You obviously don't know it yet.
Right.
I'm about to ask you it, and then we'll get you to do the same for the next person.
Okay.
So the question is, what's the weirdest cocktail you've been asked for as you've made?
The weirdest cocktail. Not a cocktail, but when I was at Mojo, there used to be a guy that used to drink Midorian milk, and he used to drink that. So Midori is a melon liqueur, and he used to drink Midorian milk, and that was like, that was one that was like that.
Sounds like it just curdles before you while you
I
pour
like,
it.
That does not feel like a good thing for you tomorrow, or even later tonight. Yeah, so that one will stick with me. That being weird, and then. There used to be a guy that came in regularly and drank sambuca and lemonade as well.
Just casually.
Just as your drink. It's just like, I don't know if it's a weird kind of trying to show off, but yeah, very strange.
Sambuca's the end of the night drink. It's not like a start off.
Just a refreshing sambuca and lemonade, please.
The person that asked us, he said that he had a Cocoa Pop cocktail.
Oh, really?
Yeah, didn't recommend it.
No.
I think it was on the dessert menu as like try this one.
How funny. I know there was I can't remember where it was. There's a bar. It was like quite a prestigious bar that used to make milk punches, but they used to turn the milk into the cereal milk, so they put cereal in it first and then use that to make a milk punch.
That's a weird one.
Really weird, but absolutely delicious.
Interesting.
Yeah, really, really good.
So when I have leftover milk in my cereal, I just need to turn it into a cocktail.
Just pop some gin in it. No, not
a bit
quite
early
the
for that.
Yeah, the milk punches that they make there is where you add lemon juice into the milk, so you make it curdle. You get rid of all the milk solids, and you just get like a creamy flavour afterwards, and it works really well with cereal milk.
Lemon and gin, then.
That's what I need.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great to chat to you, and we look forward to seeing what Hedonist to do next.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.